Johnny, really good to have you on here, sir. Super stoked that we could get this going.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me, come on to this.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Recently I did see the band The Escapers at the Penrose recording or records, I guess it's called, over there in Riverside, the grand opening. You guys played that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We did like a little like a cool little intimate set, a couple of us. We didn't bring everyone, just brought a handful of the guys. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
nice, man. Beautiful, beautiful little record store.
right. It seemed like more of a stripped down set. It was really cool though.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has a nice little stage there for people who don't know. It's a cool little record store. Definitely go check it out if you're in the area. I think it's off of University Avenue over there
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
Riverside.
it's
Really
really
cool
pretty.
though. Yeah. Kind of cool little basement area.
Yeah. It's pretty trippy.
Yeah. I really liked it though. I think they're doing great stuff over there. That was
Yeah,
a great way
man.
to open up a new thing.
Right.
Yeah. How many people do you usually perform with though, if it's not like kind of an intimate set like that?
There is generally there's eight of us. Yeah, because we have the horn section. There's three people in the horn section. But sometimes we'll play shows like in California, for example, or usually like in California, and we'll have like Joey um from the Sinceres. He'll play keys with us and stuff like that. So sometimes there's like nine, 10 people. It's pretty trippy, pretty wild. Once you get I think eight's big. So once you get past eight, it's pretty wild in a cool way. You have a bunch of musicians up there and everyone's doing their thing. Only there
Uh,
was
Four, right?
four of us. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, four. Yeah. So it was a little adjusting for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was
it was a great set. I really enjoyed. That's how I found out about you guys. Said, oh, I gotta check these guys out. I kind of came a little bit late, but we're here
yeah,
now and we're doing this. So
that's cool, man.
when did this project begin though? Kind of taking a step back to its origin.
Yeah, I would say we've been a band. It's crazy because I'm always like how long has it been? I want to say 7 years already. It's been a while, man. Close to 7 years, if not a little past.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a journey, man. It definitely has been a journey. Um, when our band first started, there wasn't eight of us, though. There was just, we didn't have horns at the time. We did our trumpet player Ian, he was in a different band at the time, but he would, hop on and play with us and stuff. And then I think after like 3 4 years, no, maybe 3 years, that's when we started having the horn section and stuff. I would say somewhere around that timeline. It's trippy now that I think about it because it's such like a mix up in my head. I'm trying really hard to think of that at the time, but it's going by, man. Yeah, I would say a good 7 years.
That's a good chunk of time.
Yeah, it's a long time. We all have kids now and stuff. It's
Did you
crazy.
did you know from the outset what you kind of wanted to accomplish, what kind of music you wanted to make with the group?
You know what? No. We kind of just because we all come from different backgrounds. Colton, the lead guitar player, he's like, you know, funk and soul and stuff like that. And we all so when we first started, we were just a reggae band. But we all have different backgrounds, we all love soul and stuff. I'm a real big, huge doo-wop fan. Um, my brother-in-law, he's actually the drummer of our band. Him and our rhythm guitar player in high school, they were in a ska core band together. So it's like they did the ska core. Colt came from a real heavy funk kind of scene. I'm from Hawaii. I was doing the reggae, and our horn players, they're all, you know, one of them's a teacher. Um, Daniel, one of the trumpet players, he's actually a mariachi teacher. And then our sax player, Chris, those two were actually in a band a while back. I want to say it was like a mariachi punk band. And then Ian, um, my other trumpet player, he grew up like jazz and all kinds of real wild. He's turned me on to a lot of trippy music. So it's crazy because we all just have different, you know, kind of background, but we all did decide to do more of a like rock steady reggae. So we're starting to put a lot more doo-wop into our music, and yeah, it's weird.
When it was kind of decided upon that you guys are gonna kind of mix all these different genres together, did that feel like kind of an opening for you in a way of like, all right, I can draw from different kind of genres and kind of melt them all together into this project?
Yeah, absolutely. Because me, I'm not a like a musically like theory inclined person. I kind of do everything by ear. I'm learning now from my bandmates for the most part. But yeah, just from stuff I would hear, you know, like a lot of our music, if you listen to the horn lines, I mean the horn guys, I let them do their own thing, you know. I'll kind of be in my room, I write a little bass structure, show it to the dudes, let them do their own thing, and we all kind of put in ideas, but the horn guys, they do their own stuff. And you can definitely hear like their sound in the horn lines that they do. Um, it's pretty wild as far as the way they play horns, because you can hear like Daniel's, you know, mariachi style, and then you can hear Ian's really pretty, like trippy, just jazz. You know, they're really talented guys. But
Yeah.
yeah, it opened a lot, man. It definitely did. It still is.
Did you feel like you eventually, or did it take a long time for you to kind of incorporate these other people's where they were coming from musically into what you wanted to do or where you were coming from?
Um, it was kind of the opposite because when we started, I was like, you know, doing Hawaiian style reggae, and I actually used to play baritone ukulele on stage in our early shows. You can find some on YouTube if you really search, and I was kind of locked into a box, and I learned a lot about myself as a musician just through these guys doing so.
Right, right. What was it about doo-wop specifically that really that you were that really drew you into that?
Man, I just it's crazy. I have a really, really strong connection with that stuff, man. From high school, I had a you know, I knew some songs, and then I have a buddy that I still talk to this day. We seen him. He came out. I want to say like a couple months ago. His name's Aaron Birdie, and back in high school, you know, we did the whole greaser thing, and he would show me all these doo-wop songs, and I'm like, man, you know, and I was a knucklehead back then, so we would, you know, ditch school, you know, and have some beers and just like listen to doo-wop and sing doo-wop. And me and him and a couple other buddies would just like harmonize and stuff. And yeah, I think what draws me to doo-wop the most is the fact that you know, these guys did this back in like the, you know, early 50s and mid 50s, 60s, and they didn't have anything like that we have now, you know, like I write all my music on my phone. I have GarageBand on my phone, so I'll plug my instruments into a it's called an iRig. It's like an adapter for the phone, and I can plug my instruments, my mic, and I'll write my music in my room. And it just trips me out. These guys, you know, didn't have any of that. They just had to sing, and I don't know if they wrote stuff down or what, but they had to know their stuff, you know. So that I have a lot of respect for you know, a lot of those guys.
Are there any other influences in your music that's not kind of centered around that? Is there anything that's kind of a curveball?
Yeah, there's a few. In He's an artist in Hawaii. His name is Ikolu, and when I, you know, would play my ukulele at home. This is way before I was in a band. I would like try to learn his songs, and then I'm like, man, I want to sing like this guy. So I started just learning his songs, and I didn't know anything. Like I had to really write the tabs down, and I didn't even know how to sing. I just tried to make my voice sound like his as far as key and stuff and pitches, and you know the way he would, you know, pronounce words, or you know send the words out. And that was way before I like knew to even like what a head voice was, you know, and like singing from my sternum. So I had a natural just falsetto for like years, for probably like 5 years before I actually really started singing. Um, so when I did start singing, people were like, "Man, you have like a good falsetto." I didn't even know what that was. You know, like, yeah, but really, you can hit some high notes. To me, it was regular, but yeah, that Bandy Colza, the singer, that's kind of someone that if you were to listen to his music and then you kind of listen to the way that I sing, there's still little tiny things that I do that, that guy does, or I try to do like him.
Right. When
Yeah.
did the initial seed of you wanting to make music start?
I was, I think I was 16. So I started by producing music. I have a good buddy of mine, best friend, I still talk to here and there. His name is Brett, and they were my two best friends, Brett and Brian. They were really heavy into like dancing and music and stuff. And I remember we were all hanging out. There was like a bunch of us, and Brett was on the computer like making beats, and I was just watching. I didn't know who he was. I was just watching him at the time, and I'm like, man, what is that? Like, oh, this is FO Studio, and I watched him for hours. It was hours, and then we became buddies, and he started teaching me how to make beats and stuff. And something else that people probably don't know is before I was singing, I actually used to rap. So I would make beats for my buddies in high school because they were all hip hop guys, and we would rap to them and stuff, and I'd have some beers and rap, and then that's when I started like actually singing to like kind of produce stuff. Because I remember one day I made a beat, and I was like, man, this would be cool. I tried singing to it, and it sounded terrible. So I was using the little you remember the auto tune and stuff? I would use the auto tune, and then progressively throughout time would take it, turn it down a notch, and just take it off. And but yeah, that's I was producing music, and that's kind of what got me on to just wanting to actually create music.
What was the initial step beyond the rapping that when you started getting into actually singing music?
The initial step for that was my father. He's incarcerated. He's in prison, and he made me a soprano ukulele in 2003, I think it was 2003, and I didn't know how to play it, and I was a knucklehead at the time too, so it kind of just was like a beautiful decoration. It just sat and collected dust, and then I was just getting into a bunch of trouble, and I just picked it up one night after just having a terrible experience. And I picked it up and I just started playing it, and that's when I was like, man, it's different playing it, and singing and stuff is a lot different. It feels different than producing it. It gave me a different feeling. Not that it's better, than producing, but I in my mind I imagine like, man, I could have, actually maybe, try singing and playing an instrument. And this was like way a long time, way before I even thought of even being an artist. I just everyone in Hawaii, you go out there and you'll see kids playing ukuleles. Everyone knows how to pick one up and sing. So that's another thing I kind of like, I wanted to keep like a part of my roots with me. So, but learning how to play that and sing was kind of the real opening um, for like what I'm doing now, I guess.
Right. Is that
Yeah.
initial feeling still present within you from when you first started tooling around with the ukulele and singing?
Yeah, man. That's crazy. No one's asked me that before. Yeah. I'll just be laying in bed and I think back on a lot of stuff, and I'm like, man, I wonder if I, you know, would have just kept getting into trouble, and like I never picked that thing up and played it. Like I don't know where I would be. I wouldn't be here. I definitely wouldn't be here talking with you right now. Like who knows, what would be happening. But yeah, I'm glad that I, was curious enough to like venture on and do that, because this music stuff, man, has changed my life like complete, just 360, like everything, in like the best ways.
Yeah. So you're originally from Hawaii and you now live in Las Vegas. How did you get there?
We moved around a lot. My mom, I was born in Hawaii, went to school from like kindergarten up to like fourth grade, and then or I think it was third grade. We lived in California for a bit. I would bounce around from Hawaii to California, and then we went to Texas. Fifth grade, I was in Texas, and my mom was in the military, so we lived in the military housing, and so we were in Texas, and the way it was in Texas, like it was like one big giant house, but it was like a massive one, but it was cut in half. So the garage for the neighbor's house, it was like just one big giant open garage. And so my neighbor was working on his car, and I had no clue this was happening. I was in fifth grade doing my homework, and I just heard some popping noises, and I was like, "There's a golf course, military guys are there trumpet every morning and shoot a rifle." I'm like, "That's weird. They never do that around this time." I was a little kid, like I was thinking, how odd. Well, his car was on fire under the garage, and the tires were popping. It was so hot, the tires were popping. He was banging on my door, and I was listening to music. I forgot. I was listening to a CD. It was a hey, oh, it was a Good Charlotte. I was in fifth grade listening to like Good Charlotte CD.
A
Yeah,
great CD at that point. That's yeah, that's
yeah,
what you gotta be
yeah.
listening to.
Skateboarding and stuff, and I just hear, man, these guys are just never like this. And then I went like got out of my room, and then I just seen this massive bubble on my ceiling, and then it dripped. And I was like, what? Like, what is that? Well, my house was on fire. My house was on fire. I was upstairs, and I was like in it. It was crazy, man. I almost died.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
it was crazy. And I remember telling my mom I felt something like, you know, my Grandpa Joe had passed away. A real hazy memory because I was young, but I don't think it was too long before that. And I just remember like feeling something like get down the stairs. So I go down the stairs, look around, the whole house is on fire. And like I look out my window and like the entire cul-de-sacs outside. And like I go outside and I just see like hundreds of people sitting in the grass watching. And I'm blown away because I was just doing my homework listening to Good Charlotte. And the second I go outside, my room explodes.
Wow.
I think my TV blew up. Yeah, like if I would have stayed up there, I wouldn't have got out of there. And so long story short, our house, everything was destroyed, and we ended up leaving Texas, and we came out here to Vegas, and kind of just stayed out here since. I went back to Hawaii for seventh grade, came back out to Vegas, but yeah, it's always a trippy story because like if that never happened, we'd probably still be in Texas or something, I would think. But yeah, pretty trippy, man.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
nuts. It's crazy.
So you just stayed there since I mean around middle school ish.
Hmm. Yeah, I went to sixth grade out here, not far from my house now at this place, this school called Thurman White Middle School. And then I went back to Hawaii for seventh grade. And then after seventh grade, I came back, did eighth grade, and then I went to high school out here. Yeah, and then just been out here ever since, man.
Were you exploring the music scene in high school when you came back and you were getting into music or
Yeah, yeah, for the most part. I was more into like dancing and stuff. Like I was break dancing, doing all kinds of like different dancing and stuff, and we would make the music for it. But then I mean, I listened to everything. I was like huge, I liked R&B, and I grew up listening to like oldies like Brentwood and like old soul kind of stuff. So I kind of in my mind knew like, man, it would, because I didn't really have a like a goal, like, I want to be a fireman or a doctor. I didn't to this day still, like if I wasn't a musician, I don't know what I'd be doing, but
I
I
mean
knew
I would
deep in my
say
heart,
initially firemen would work out.
yeah, probably a fireman, right?
Firemen, yeah. I mean you got experience.
Yeah,
What do you think it
yeah.
was that drove you to music? I mean, what why was it that stuck out so much to you? If you're able to pinpoint that, I know it's kind of a difficult question, but
Yeah, no, it's not. I was just getting into trouble, man. I was, and yeah, the music definitely got me away from all that. Even like when our band first started, 7 years ago. I mean, I was already in my I was in my 20s, but I was still drinking a lot, and not taking care of myself like I should. And also that's kind of why I thank God that I have a daughter now. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she completely like it's changed everything. That and the music, man. Her and this band and just everything going on has been such a total blessing, and made me just things that I experienced throughout life, and just learned, like these things make me take all of this for like into so much consideration, and I think that's why I am the way I am when I write, or when I go on stage. I really try to just it helps, man. It helps me just feel good about life now. The music definitely got me out of that wormhole because I was just not doing good. And
Wow, yeah, I
I
mean
think that's why
that's
I
great. That's
just yeah,
fantastic.
it's a love for music. Yeah, it saved my life. It really did, man.
I mean, starting with the fire.
Yeah, it's
I
just
mean, it started with Good Charlotte, and you know what? We thank him for that.
and music was like my finisher, man, to just get rid of those demons. That's kind of what opened my eyes. I'm like, man, I can do this and probably end up in jail or prison or somewhere not alive, or I could do this and, turn my anger into happiness and use my emotions, for music, man, because love music. Everyone loves music, and, music holds a special place for a lot of people. For me, I hold it to my heart, man, because I wouldn't be here jamming out with these guys. I wouldn't have met these amazing bandmates of mine. I've met so much cool people, man, like on this music journey, like people that like when I talk to them, I'm like, damn, man, I can't believe like I can call that guy my brother. Like some of these people I met, it's just mind blowing. It's just completely mind blowing, and it trips me out. But yeah, man, the music is definitely was the sword and shield in that battlefield for me.
When you started kind of really trying to make a go at this music, was it with this band or was it with a different band before?
So I actually a buddy of mine at the time we hung out as teenagers and stuff. He played guitar, and we did a little garage band. It was me, him, and two of my coworkers. I worked at Walmart at the time, and we called ourselves the Creatures. But it wasn't anything like we never thought of like playing shows. We would just hang out in the garage and drink, smoke, and just jam out. And it's funny because there's videos on my Facebook. I don't really go on Facebook anymore, but there's videos that I have on my Facebook of me jamming with those guys in the garage, and I'll go back to it every like few years. I'll go back and just laugh, like, damn, what a trip, man. Um, but that was kind of just a hanging out and partying and garage band stuff. And then it wasn't until with these guys when we finally started doing shows and stuff. Because when the topic was brought up, like, hey, you guys want to play a show? I was like, I never would have thought of doing that. And I told the guys, and yeah, I played my first show with these guys, and we only had 2 weeks to prepare. It was crazy. It was nuts.
That's yeah, sufficient amount of time, sure.
Yeah, yeah, right. 2 weeks to come up with 30 minutes of music, and I think I already had
Easy.
like,
Oh, that's yeah.
yeah, I had like three original songs. That was it. So I'm like, we need like another 15 minutes of music. It was nuts, man. But we pulled it off somehow. We did, and I was blown away. I was like, holy shit! Like it was really cool.
Was that the like the first real performance that you did?
Yeah, yeah. I was at the Backstage Bar and Billiards on Fremont Street, and I'll never forget that night because it was a good amount of people in there, man. And I just remember like, all right, here we go. We're the opening band, and like I was shaking, and I had to play my instrument. I remember like we used to play surf music at the time, so the first song we opened up with like a surf instrumental, and as I'm playing, I'm like shaking really hard, and I'm like, oh man, this is like I don't even know what to do. And then right when we started, I just started talking to the crowd, like, hey, how's it going, guys? We're the Escapers. Everyone was like screaming, and I was like kind of mellowed out after that. And I was like, damn, they like this shit. Like, kind of looked at the dudes. I was like, all right, like, fuck it, like we got it. And then, yeah, we did good that night, man. It was really crazy. It was the first time I actually sang in front of that much people, you know, like besides karaoke and stuff. So it was definitely a trip. It's nuts.
So right after addressing the crowd, it just calmed your nerves like that. You're good to go.
Yeah, because I've never been on stage, so I'm like, man, like I've seen movies where they say something and then everyone's just quiet and you hear crickets. So that's what I was like. Another thing, I was like, man, what if these guys like start throwing shit at me or like get off the stage? So like, yo, let's go, guys, we're the escapers, and everyone's like, ah, and I was like, ah, like that's part of a relief. Now we just got to get through this 30 minutes. And we did, man, and we were like all blown away. I think the only one that's been on stage at that time was Colton, my lead guitar player. He was in a band back in his hometown. But even then, I don't even think I think he was still like, I think we're all pretty nervous at that first show.
How do you feel now when you go up on stage?
I love it, man. It's weird because I don't I don't get nervous. I don't get nervous seeing a crowd. The only thing I get nervous about is like messing up, because that I do that. But like luckily I can catch it, and try to play it off. But yeah, as far as the nerves, I don't really get nervous, but this coming up show I am a bit nervous because we've never played in front of a packed out theater before. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I won't, not to the point where I'm shaking and stuff, but yeah, I do go up there. Like I still do go up there with a little bit of nerves. I feel like everyone has to have some kind of nerves. Um, because I mean, shit, man, if you can go up there and not be nervous, I mean, I have, I always have like my confidence in there and stuff still, but there's still some times where I'm just like, ooh, I'm a little nervous. You know what was weird when we did that Penrose that little Penrose set? I was like super nervous, man. I was sweating. I don't know what it was. I think it was just the whole intimate, everyone was close. It was amazing, but I just remember seeing it and I'm like, I think I said it too. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm a little nervous. I was nervous. I think it was just, the musicians that were in there too, are a lot of musicians that I look up to and stuff. So at the same time, it's kind of like, man, I better do good because this person's watching. You know what I mean? Like
What is the theater that you're playing?
it's it's the I believe it's the Fox Theater in Pomona.
Oh,
The
okay, cool.
Fox
Yeah,
Theater in Pomona.
that's a good venue.
Yeah, yeah, I hear a lot of cool things about it.
Well, you heard
We were
right,
talking
man.
about it at
That's
the
a yeah,
record store. Yeah, I heard it's a pretty cool. It's been around for a while, so I'm excited for that.
that'll be awesome, man.
Yeah, man, I got to get a new suit or some new slacks and a new button up for this one.
Yeah, yeah. There's a heavy dress code there for people listening.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah.
yeah. I think it's three-piece suits only. I
Oh,
think is what they're.
really?
No, no, I
Oh, I
don't
was
know.
like, damn, that's badass. That's really cool.
Top hats, suits,
Yeah,
canes.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pompadours and stuff.
Sure. Um, taking a step back to that kind of that first show, preparing for that and writing for that. Do you believe that to be like the first time that you guys were really writing together?
It was way different now than it was back then because we were all in our early 20s, and we were just, man, it's a trip living in Vegas, man. Especially if you like to drink. We would like meet up at the parks with a bunch of 40s, and my drummer would bring like a snare and a hi-hat, and we would all bring our acoustic instruments and we would just jam. And we didn't have a rehearsal spot at the time, and we kind of just practiced acoustic, for a while, and then we finally started going to I think it was the studio was called MDV. It's a studio like I forget where it's at, like near downtown, but we used to go there and rehearse when we would have these early shows. But yeah, now it's like we have a studio that we go to. My guitar player, and his roommate, they built a studio. It's nice, man. They got a studio built on the side of the house, like a whole separate thing just for the studio. So it's really nice now because we went from drinking 40s in the park to like comfortably being somewhere where we can relax, and not have to worry about cops coming and bothering us. And
Has your writing style changed as the venues to write in have changed?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Changed big time, way, 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 huge curveball in the writing, definitely. Because like back then, I was like when I would write, I most likely wasn't sober. I was drinking or stoned or both. Um, and now it's like it's more of like a poetry kind of thing now, just how I'm feeling or because a lot of people they'll ask me like, like what made you write that song? And so what I do is there's some songs that I'll write from my perspective, and then there's some songs that I'll write that I know other people can connect to, like I'll tell this story because I bet you there's millions of people that can connect to this one. Like Stay. That was the very first song we ever came out with. And I wrote that song in like 5 minutes. I was at work as a security guard. I was walking around the casino and I had my little notepad that I write incidents and stuff. And I just started writing like I had the ukulele chords in my head. I just started writing. I wrote a whole song and I text the guys around a group chat. I'm like, yo, I think I wrote a really dope song. Like, and in my head, it sounds great. It's like in my head, it sounds great. So I'll show you guys. And yeah, that one was crazy, man. But yeah, the writing has definitely changed. It's definitely changed big time.
Do you ever try to tap into a headspace of, oh, I need to write, or does it just kind of come out like that still that you're just doing something else and something enters your brain, an idea of some sort?
That's a good question because it really depends. It's weird. Sometimes like Stay just came out. There's some songs where I'll sit there, like one I'm writing now, and I used to always just try to knock a song out right in that spot back when our band first started. It never worked out. It hardly ever worked out. Actually, it never worked out. There were some songs that were really cool, but it sounded cool when everyone else was playing, and I'm singing to it. But now it's like I'll write a song and I'll sit on it, or there's stuff I wrote last year, but instead of throwing it away, I'm like, I'll come back to it with a whole new set of eyes and ears, whatever I went through when I was writing that, maybe be going through something else, that'll allow me to change the experience up. But yeah, no, there's sometimes Shame on Love, another song that we have. I was sleeping and it was weird, man. I was sleeping and I had a dream. It's so weird that my dreams are like this. And I was actually telling a buddy of mine, we're at the studio yesterday, and one of my buddies, David, friend I grew up with, came and I was telling him about one of my dreams. He's like, "Damn, man, you have some trippy dreams. Like, you remember that?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude." But I had a dream that we were performing Shame on Love, and I shot up out of bed. Like, I keep my notebook right next to me all the time. Like, it's right on my floor by my bed for this exact reason. Shot up. I remember it was like 3:22 in the morning, and I took my phone out, and I had some light, and I just started writing. And then the next day, went back to sleep and woke up and I was reading the lyrics and I was like, damn, this one's tight, man. The same thing. I sent it to the guys, yo, I think I wrote a cool tune. And it was funny because it was actually a soul tune that we changed into a rock steady reggae tune. So it's really different. Sometimes I'll go to sleep and for some weird reason have a dream or some type of idea and I'll wake up and write it. There's sometimes where I'll be driving. A lot of these are like I'm noticing coming out when I'm in the shower. I always practice my vocals, my range and stuff in the shower. I do my scales and I'll do like my vibratos and I'll do like harmonies. I'm like, man, that was a good one. So I'll put my voice recorder on while I'm showering and do like a 10-second clip. I have like millions of those just so I don't forget. I don't even go back and listen to them. But yeah, that's a good one because I noticed now that you asked me that it's different every time now. I don't think there's ever been a time where I just sat down with a pen and paper and I was like, I'm gonna write a song. Because there's always something going on that has me writing a song.
Do you reach a point with every song that you're writing that it changes from just an idea that's on paper to like, okay, I'm actually gonna start to hash this out and see where it goes?
Yeah, it happens all the time, man. Like I'll be in the shower and I'll just sing some random stuff and I'll like, man, I could write maybe a whole verse off of that. Or I could end up building up a whole song. I have like, I would say like, maybe like four doo-wop songs that are done that like people haven't heard, except for a few people. Joey, actually, I recorded one of them at his studio. He's a funny guy, man. I sent him so back to the topic. Yeah, so this song, it was kind of just like a little idea, and I built off of that, and it turned into like, I was like, I have an idea for a song, Joey. Can you do the piano for this? Like, I know you're busy, man. No rush. So I sent it. He's like, yeah, send it. I sent it to him. He hit me up like an hour later. He's like, done. And I'm like, damn, dude, he laid those. I mean, I'm not surprised he laid that keyboard track fast. Well, this dude like did all the instruments and like added even more instruments than I heard in my head. And I was like listening to it and I was like, whoa, like this is way better than what I heard in my head. It was completely different. He added like a vibraphone. He had all kinds of stuff.
And
And
this is Joey Quinones, or okay,
yeah, Joey Quinones.
does not
It was
surprise
just
me at
funny.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I'm like, man, he laid that piano track really. It's a whole band he did by himself in like an hour. And it's beautiful. And I'm just like, man, but yeah, a lot of these doo-wop tunes and rock steady one. I guess all the tunes I write, I never really like. Like I said back in the day, I would try to just knock a whole song out in a day, and I would go, okay, this is the verse. What's the chorus? And now I'm learning like I've been doing it wrong. I kind of just get a little idea. I'll write it down on a piece of paper and, put a circle around it and kind of just like what was that stuff we used to do in school, brainstorming, how you have all the little bubbles, kind of like that thing. I'll write a question down, like what's gonna be the answers to this question. Write another question, what is the answers to this question, kind of. And then I'm like, man, for like 4 years I've been writing music, like probably the hardest way for myself that I could possibly do.
Good. I
So
like it.
yeah,
I like it. You're taking a detour on it. I like
yeah,
to hear
yeah,
it.
man.
Um, what is it like for you when you finally reach that point though of like, oh, okay, this is actually these threads are making a cloth that all these ideas are gonna turning into something actually
Yeah.
tangible or something I could bring to the table.
Yeah, it's cool, man, because I mean, my band members are all my best friends. I've known them for a long time, and we're very straightforward with each other. So some songs I'm like, nah, just keep this one for myself. You know what I mean? Because they might not dig it. And then there's some songs where I'm like, I know they'll like this. And then I already know before I show it to them, like after I show it to them, they're gonna just kill it, and it's gonna sound better than what I picture in my head. I'll usually write like the chords for a verse, figure out the chords, and then show them, if you guys can find better chords or anything, like do your thing, and I hear horns here, and then they'll figure out their own horn line, and then it just comes to be this like crazy song, and I'm like, damn, we did it, all eight of us.
So you are taking into account other people's parts in songs when you're kind of hashing stuff out by yourself, like, oh, maybe this will go here, this will go here, and then it just develops
Yeah,
into right.
yeah, like I usually have an idea just from my understanding, just from like what my brain and what my mind hears. But these guys are, they know their instruments. So a lot of times, I'll tell them I hear, something from here to here, and da 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 da, something like that, and then they do their own way better, and I'm like, oh, dude, all right, and then they'll go, well, what if we did something here? I'm like, yeah, dude, do your thing, man, like do your thing, and they throw it in there, and it becomes better than what I thought.
When you're when that the time comes that everything's kind of pieced together somewhat and you're playing it for the first time, how often does it sounding different than you originally envisioned it?
Oh man, it always sounds way better because when I'm in my room by myself, the only real live instruments that I have are the bass and the guitar and my vocals. Everything else I'm kind of just, I'm playing the keyboard on the app. So it doesn't sound like a real keyboard. The drums, they're electronic, you know, drums that even if I'm playing, it doesn't sound like a real drum set. So when I write a song and I go from like my room version, like the electric one, you know, everything's kind of just automated into actual live instruments with all my friends playing, it always just sounds more alive. You know, it sounds more like there's some feeling into it, definitely.
Right. Um,
Yeah.
a little bit ago, you mentioned that you wrote and I initially wrote a song that was rock steady and kind of turned into to a more soul aspect, or vice versa.
Hmm.
Does it happen often that you have an idea that's like, okay, this is kind of what I'm going for, and it turns into something else, like that,
Yeah.
a genre change like that?
Yeah. It happens. I think with our band, it's kind of like a thing we do because that happened with Stay. It was like a just a straight reggae tune, and then we did our first soul show and we transferred that into a soul song, like with time ticking. Like we had no time and we somehow it was hard. It was hard. We were like physically beating each other up and yelling at each other. It was really stressful. And so that went from a reggae song, like a straight reggae tune into I was like a poppy reggae tune into a soul song. And then we revisited it and then kind of gave it a more rock steady feel. Again with the help of Joey, we recorded that at his studio. So that song technically like transformed 3 times. And then yeah, Shame on Love was a soul song. I never released the soul version. We did turn it into a rock steady version, but we revisited, you know, kind of looking back on it, and we are gonna actually do a soul version of that. Actually, on my Instagram, I have a video where I had a bad night, and I went into the garage, and my pops he has a an Impala in the garage. I was like, hey, can I sit in your Impala and do a little acapella video? So I did, and I did the Shame on Love soul one. So yeah, we're gonna actually do that. I don't know when, but we're gonna do it sometime this coming year for sure. But it happens a lot, man. Yeah, there's so many tunes, and even now, like we'll hear a song, and that's this real sick reggae song, and come to find out it was actually that's a cover song of an actual oldies soul tune. You know, the guy just I thought it was his song, but it wasn't. So I'm like man, it's universal, I guess.
Yeah, that's always odd when you're like, oh wait,
Yeah,
it's a cover the whole
yeah.
time.
I'm like that's not his song. Damn.
He's fucking lying, dude.
Right.
Uh, do you prefer to piece these songs together and make them what they are, or do you prefer to play them in front of people, in front of an audience?
I think so with our band, I think with our we love recording, but we with 8 of us having all different schedules, it's hard for all of us. Like we're learning now that like half of us go to the studio and then the other half go a different day because it's just so hard getting 8 people off of work. You know, some people work in the morning, some work graveyard, some work it's crazy. So with us naturally, it was easier for us to perform, which is cool because some bands they go in the studio and just tear it up. With us, it was the opposite, man. We can go on stage and play and nail it, and then go in the studio and spend all day recording that one song that we've played millions of times, you know, in front of people. So yeah, I do prefer playing them, and it's cool because when we're on stage, like you know, especially me, like I just sing. I don't have an instrument, so I have like all the time in the world. Like while I'm singing, I'm like literally looking in the crowd and I'm like, damn, that guy's here again. I seen him at the last 5 shows. He came out from Cali. Like that's badass. Like so people listening, like you guys are definitely seen when you're in the crowd. Like there's like some of the nicest people that I've talked to on a weekly basis I met that were fans of my music. And you know, I actually talked to them like their family, and it's really cool. But it is cool playing these songs because a lot of these people that come to our show they get to hear something new. You know, there's some people that seeing us for the first time, but then there's people that have been coming to our shows for years, so it is cool playing new tunes, you know, and like seeing their reaction and stuff like whoa, you know, it's a different song, but yeah, it's
Right. What is the the energy within the room when you are recording something? What is that, if you could describe that feeling that you have when you're in there and you're laying it down?
It's pretty it's awesome, man. It really depends. I mean, we've only recorded with at Joey's studio and then at Penrose. I don't think we've ever laid like we had buddies' houses that we've go and tried dropping reggae tunes, but that was like, you know, we're all drinking and stuff. But like when we're actually in the studio, it's really cool, man. Now I'm way more comfortable than all the other times. Like the very our first tunes that we recorded, I was having a lot of trouble, and it's really crazy because I noticed with Joey, he does this thing where he's like a good 30 steps, 40 steps ahead of you somehow. I don't know how he does it. I mean, I'm sure it's just, you know, dude's a born musician, but he knows what to do, man. Like he knows when I try not to show it. I try my best not to show it when I'm stressed out. And it's never like I'm mad at my guitar player or my drummer. It's usually myself. Like, damn, man, like come on, this is a fucking 17th take. Like we got this, you know. So I mentally beat myself up. But sometimes somehow he knows. So he'll do this he'll do this thing where I remember the first time he did it, he came up to me and he was like, here, man. He gave me a beer. I'm like, thanks, man. And he turned off all the lights. And then he left and I was kind of just like looking around and it was just me. I'm like, all right. And then he came back with like a bunch of candles, like lit candles and put them around the room. And then I ended up like nailing the take. And then after that, I was like, I realized I'm like, damn, this dude like already knew how to set the mood for whatever I was feeling. Like he somehow read it and was like, all right, that's what we got to do. So yeah, with Joey, it's cool, man. I love recording with that guy. I love just hanging out with them, you know, Sinceres and the Altons and all of them. It's always a fun time. It's like you're at home. And then the same thing with Gabe at Penrose, man. He is the easily the most patient person I've ever met in my life. Like I'll tell you, that guy's patient, man.
And that's
We were
Gabe Roth, right?
yeah, he's extremely patient. I have too much love for that guy, man. I mean, he's like a living legend, man. So it's cool working with him because when we did these tunes with him, he brought out a lot of real technical stuff within all of us that I had well, just speaking for myself, I had no clue. I learned a lot just from recording the two songs, you know, like just things I never thought about, like you know, usually I'm just singing. I'm not thinking about melodies. I'm singing whatever naturally. But now, like when I write, I'll write a sentence down and then I'm looking at the words and I'm like, what melody is going to go for what part of the word, you know? Like, for example, the word somehow. Am I going to sing it straight through, you know, somehow? Or am I going to sing some higher? Or am I going to drop the how lower, you know, somehow? Or am I going to do the opposite? I never thought of stuff like that till we went to Gabe's. It was crazy. He was like, "Yeah, man. Well, you know, for this word, drop it a bit." I was like, I thought about that. I looked at my bandmates. I'm like, "Damn, dude, I never thought of that." So it's really trippy, man. Yeah, it's cool. The thing I'm noticing is like any studio you go to, you definitely bring yourself and you know what you're capable of. But now I'm learning to kind of just adapt to the space of the studio too. You know, like it's really cool. It's cool. It's just matching the energy and how you're feeling that day, how everyone's feeling that day, you know.
Whatever the emotion is that you're feeling at the time of these songs, do you feel like that is felt within the listeners?
It's crazy because when I would record these songs, it was hard for me to actually put emotion recording on stage. On stage, I feel like I'm getting really comfortable with my stage presence, but actually recording, it used to be very awkward for me. But now, yeah, like I think just now because I'm just more level-headed, man. You know, when we started this band, I wasn't very level-headed compared to now, but now, yeah, I feel like I feel like I know how to put more emotion into it. But I do have like friends, man. I have a good buddy of mine. I was talking to him last night. We're at the studio on the phone. It was his so him and his girlfriend that he's with now, they're they met at one of our shows, and It was that same day a year ago. It's like, can you sing this? Just do me a favor, man. Can you do a little shout out and sing the song and just send a video? You don't have to do a shout out. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll do it. And he told me that, man. He's like, man, these last songs you've been dropping, man, have been hitting home for me. And when people tell me things like that, man, like that means like that's one of the reasons why I love being a musician. Like, the money's it's cool, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I do want to make money someday for my daughter's sake. Like my plan is like I don't care about being rich and famous and shit. I do want to have like like an account for her. So when I do pass away one day and she has this money built up from, all these songs that I do. But I think the most rewarding for me is like when people tell me stuff like that, man, like, yo, this song hit me hard, man. Like it really dug deep. He told me that. He's like, man, these songs, man, really hit my heart. And it's like, thank you, man. And that kind of stuff, like sometimes I'll tear up reading that, man, because like I said, when I first wanted to be a musician, my emotions were messed up, man. There wasn't too much positive emotion behind anything in my life. So now that I'm doing this, and I think being a musician has been the biggest accomplishment. I haven't done much with my life at all. So the fact that I'm doing music and people are like, really feeling a heavy weight towards it makes me feel happy because I have a real heavy respect just for music, just not even like it could be anything, man. I'm just the kind of person where I can listen to anything, even if it's like I don't even listen to country, man, but I'll hear a country song. It'll play at my work sometimes, and I'm like, damn, that that hurt, man. Like, what the hell did that guy go through? Like when I hear music, I'm just like, whoa, maybe I don't know, maybe because it's a musician thing, I don't know, but there's just a different feeling for it, man, that I just respect, so much. So yeah, it makes me feel good, man, when people tell me, like this song really did a lot for me. So I'm like, damn, I appreciate it, man. I'm really glad it did.
The most recent releases from the band is Sorry and Prettiest Girl, right? Those are the most recent
hmm
releases.
Yeah,
And those are put out through through Penrose.
yeah, yeah.
When did you guys kind of cross paths for the first time? How did that happen? Because I know you guys released some other stuff with some other people.
Well, Gabe's always been like, a cool buddy. Like we've played shows. Was it where was that? Um, Palm Palm Springs. We played like a cool like invite show, and Gabe was there. Like he was never like a stranger, Like and like man, we all love Dap Tone, Like we all grew up listening to that too. So it was kind of just like hey, you guys want to do a record kind of thing? Like yeah, man, So our manager right now, they're buddies, so they kind of just talked it over, and then yeah, we went over there and I had the two doo-wop songs ready, vocally. At least I thought we had an idea, and it kind of just we got there, and it evolved to what it was. Because the songs didn't sound like that at first. They did, but it was just like a real, very, very basic version of how they sound now. you know. But yeah,
Do you predict that your daughter's generation, for instance, will look back on this time for looking for inspiration if they want to make this kind of music, or do you think that they will go back and listen to the Flamingos and these other artists from our grandparents' generation,
I would
or
hope
or
so,
both?
man. Yeah, I would hope so. Like I show my daughter all these doo-wop tunes and I just hope that like she could listen. I'm never gonna be the kind of dad to control her, but I would hope that, she like, one day tells her grandkids, like, my dad used to listen to this and it's a flamingos, or like me and my band members were tripping out, like, dude, our songs are on records. Like these are gonna be around hundreds of years from now, like these records. I have some Skyliner records and I just looking at them, I trip out. I'm like, man, this was like created in 50 some years ago, 60 some, it's crazy, 70 years ago. And I have it in my room,
Right.
it trips me out. Yeah, so that would be cool, man. I think that would be cool if,
Yeah,
it just kept
there's
going.
something about a physical release that is just different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a heart, whelming feeling.
Right. Was that a major step for you, the first physical pressing of something that you made? Was it a big like, whoa, look at this. Like we're moving up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because like I'll be honest, like before this band, I didn't have any records, man. I was introduced to this whole record world. Like I knew of records, but I was never like I'm gonna go to a record store and go dig for some records. I always just listened to them, online and just would be on YouTube searching and Google and looking up doo-wop bands. I used to like just when my head wasn't right, I would just be in my room and I would like Google different groups and write these doo-wop guys because I started realizing I would listen to them. Like, this guy kind of sounds like this guy, and then I look up on Google. Well, sure enough, this doo-wop group's singers helped this doo-wop group's band and backed them up. So I started finding all these different tunes just from the guys' names and stuff. All these people, and it's crazy because it's like that now, man. Like I thought it was just all these different bands, but it's like one band and they split off and go and help other bands. And it's exactly like that now. Like, like I said, we have Joey jam out with us, and it's like, you look at the Altons, it's it's almost like the same group, they're like they have this real dope bond musically and they have different projects. I think that's great, man. I tell my group all the time, like, you should do that out here in Vegas, like just jam out with a bunch of other people. We should all be doing other things besides just us. And it's not a bad thing, like I have my own solo music that I'm hoping to even just release electronically, next year. I have a bunch of stuff that I have. Me and my trumpet player, no one knows this. This is another thing you're tripping on this. Me and my trumpet player, Ian, the jazz kid I told you about, he has like opened like my mind to just so much music, like music I never would have ever found on my own or even thought of. And so we always share music back and forth. It's been like this for years. And we do like a side project, like straight EDM stuff, like lo-fi EDM, jazzy. I don't even know the genre, like really lo-fi jazzy kind of trippy EDM kind of stuff that we do together, No one's ever heard that. You're the first one for that.
I appreciate it.
Music's nuts, man, in the best way. It's such a crazy little world. It's
Right.
really bizarre. Really bizarre.
Speaking of Las Vegas and in being there and kind of outside of these more major cities that people tend to gravitate towards when they're musicians, has location impacted your music? Has that had an impact on the music that you create?
You know, yeah. So it's crazy because like I think like personally I would have to say California's had a bigger impact because when we started playing these shows, we started realizing how much we're in California. We would play shows out here, but it was like as far as our journey going on to like soul and stuff, that's like in my personal opinion, I don't know about the other guys, but I would personally like think for me it was going to California and watching because I'm a real visual kind of learner and I'm in my head a lot and sometimes it's cool and a lot of times it's not. um but yeah, I would remember going to Cali and playing the show and watching like the Sinceres or watching the Altons, watching their set. And like for me, any show that I play, actually every single show that I play, you'll always find me in the crowd. Like when we're done or before, I love that like seeing what the crowd sees, because I've already been up there. So like let me come down here. And it's cool, man. Some people will look like, hey, you were just seeing, like, yeah, man, I'm here hanging out with you guys, but I I do just a lot of memories are us in California and me like watching our friends play and like just learning, just watching them for an hour and just being mind blown, like, holy shit, I just learned so much, you know. So then we come back here and there's a really massive variety of like music out here, you know, like it's Vegas is just with everything. It's like a big mixing pot of everything for everything, like art. It's really cool. But there's really not that I know of. I don't really know any doo-wop bands or soul bands out here, you know. There's a few, we have a few friends that are really, really dope. A good buddy of ours, Ralphie the Shoes is his name. Always rocking some really badass like wingtips, and he's a doo-wop guy too, and he has a little he has a speakeasy at his whole house is just vintage, like from the outside to the inside, to the spoons, to the plates, everything is vintage. And he built this speakeasy, and everyone goes and hangs out there. And I love going there because he knows more about doo-wop than me, and I know a lot, man. You know, to me, I know a lot. I know I can listen to someone and be like, "That's this guy," you know, they're from here. So when I go to his place, we just nerd out on doo-wop, and we'll show each other music. And but yeah, out here it's just such a big music scene. So I would think personally, my impact would have been going to California so much because my goal is wanting to spread that sound out here. You know, and having like a Vegas somewhat scene. You know, where I'd be the dudes in Vegas to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh, what has been the biggest impact on your music? And I know it's a big question, and that's the ending one.
yeah,
I gotta end on a bang, dude. I apologize. I apologize, Johnny. I don't mean to put you in
that
a
is a
position.
good one.
Thank you, sir.
My biggest, my biggest impact on our music, my personal biggest impact would just have to be literally all the people that I met, like literally just from musicians to fans, just all the friends that I made, you know, like it's just hundreds of them, man. I wish I could name them all, but we would be here for another 2 hours. There's just so much people that like I met, and even people that like, you know, weren't that kind to me. Like it's still anyone that I meet, I hold a place in my heart for, even if like, all right, me and that person don't get along the greatest. Well, with me, the way life works, like from just things that I've been through and experiences, whatever comes onto my path is there for a reason, you know? So it's like there's just so much people that I met that have been a huge impact on my music. And yeah, that would have to be my impact, man. These amazing musicians and artists, and just learning from these guys without even being taught, just hanging around them and learning, you know, and just vibing and jamming out has been my biggest impact. And I'm completely blessed to have met everyone that I've met on this journey so far.
That's a great answer, man.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Johnny, thank you for sitting with me, and I'm so glad
Absolutely.
that we were able to figure this out time wise. And thank you, man, so much.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
Before I let you go, though, I got some promo to do. So Johnny Ruiz and the Escapers music is streaming everywhere. Wherever you get your music, that's where you can find them. The latest 45s that we were just kind of chatting about. Sorry with Prettiest Girl is available at Penrose Recordings Bandcamp, right? That's the best place.
Hmm.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
that's at penroserecordings.bandcamp.com. That's where you can go buy it. And I definitely suggest that you go do that. And you can stay up to date with tours and news and shows and all that good stuff by following the band on Instagram, which is at the underscore escapers 702 on Instagram. Now, Johnny, is there anything else we got to promote before we cut you loose here?
I think you hit the nail on the head there, brother.
Um,
Yeah.
Johnny, you're awesome, man. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
And I
brother.
really
Yeah.
appreciate you being here. I'm going to stop recording this. I'll talk to you in a minute. All right.
Yeah, man. Much love.
Cool. Thank you, sir.